Welcome back to the Tiberium Hangar. This is Mike, and today I want to talk to you about Haslab failed projects. There's two projects that appear to be failing right now that's going on at the same time, and that would be the Rancor and the Skystriker. Today I want to talk to you about why these probably will not fund, let alone unlock anything, and why these never should have been Haslab projects in the first place. Well, the Rancor actually can be, but we'll talk about this coming up. So try not to be too negative about this situation with Haslab. I do want to say that they are doing something right with the Proton Pack, the Spangler's Proton Pack. So we have definitely hit the target of 7,000. They're at 11,529. They've already unlocked Tier 1, I believe. Working on Tier 2 maybe. I didn't really keep up with it that much, but I know it's going to get funded no matter what. And the reason for that is because building your own is kind of a pain. It's very expensive. And I looked into it just for fun, but see, I was thinking about getting like an $80 Spirit Halloween one, and I didn't even feel like dropping $80 on that, so I'm not in on this myself, but so many people that really considered building their own are really excited about this, because this thing's going to work, have lights and sounds and all that kind of stuff, and probably work for a really long time. You build it yourself, you don't know how long it's going to last, if it's going to hold up and all those kinds of things, so still a lot to this. This is a win, but there's a couple things I don't like about it. So for $400, you get a pack only, and they're going to unlock a few more things for the pack. So that there's that. The hose is an unlock and all that kind of stuff. But the wand doesn't come with it, and that's another like 130 or something like that. But the wand is cool, and I know that it is a cool item. A lot of people already have it, so you'll have to seek that out either on the secondary market or wait for them to reissue it, which I do believe they're planning a reissue the same time that the pack comes out, so hopefully that's a thing. But the thing that bothers me the most about this project is you have to be a premium member to get an unlock of some slime. And see, I'm doing everything I can to fight that stupid $50 premium, and missing out on the G.I. Joe Zartan made me never ever want to get premium. But with this, I don't know. This is like a slap in the face to those who don't want to spend $50 on air to be part of their premium, so I don't like that at all, but the pack's a good idea. Okay, so getting into the Rancor project, we have about a week left, and we are a little above the halfway mark to the 9,000 target. Actually, 9,000 isn't really even that many, so why is this thing not getting backed? Well, a lot of people talk about they don't like the tiers, but that's not exactly what I think. I think from the get-go, it was overpriced. So the Rancor is 17.5 inches tall, and he's kind of wide and deep, and so he's big, all around big. Now they do talk about the size of this thing, but I don't think that the figure on a standalone figure priced at $350 is a value. I think this is a $200 figure at the most, and that's pushing it. So there are some realms of reality we have to live in, and the fact that, yeah, the Rancor is the biggest beast in the world of Star Wars, not that many people really want to drop $200 on a Rancor, let alone $350. But at $350, it shows that it's not worth $350 on its own if the tiers aren't good enough to sell it. They did spend a lot of time showing the size and how big it is to justify the price. So the box should be about the same size as the Razor Crest box. Probably shaped different because the items are shaped different, so they get packaged differently. So it's big, but big doesn't always mean more expensive, because the fact that the Razor Crest is going to have more than likely a higher parts count because of what's going on with it, so that's $350. The Rancor at $350 I still feel is overpriced. Now I do think it looks amazing, so if they would have hit like a $200 price point, brought it out at retail for $200 or something like that on its own, then it probably would succeed. And that's what I'm thinking. The price is too high, but it looks amazing. I think it's a nice looking figure for the Black Series, and it's a pretty good size and all of that. So let's see what the tiers are and why the fans are in tears over the tiers and canceling pre-orders. Here are the unlocks, and I feel like I'm talking about this in my new segment a bit, but The first one at 11,000, we've got the Rancor. And I falsely thought that meant we were going to get Ula and all of them in this packaging, and I got excited for it. Turns out we didn't get them, so okay. So this is something that every collector that collects Black Series probably already has in their collection, if not multiples. So that's why a lot of people were upset about it. It wasn't really exciting, but I did like the packaging. Now, going into, I would have never guessed we'd get a cardboard backdrop and some bones for the 13,500. So that was a shocker to me. I'm like, what are they thinking? And where are the good unlocks? And then 16,000 backers, which it doesn't really matter because we're never going to hit the 9,000. But at 16, we get a repackaged Salacious Crumb. And then at 19,000, a loop. But I'm perfectly happy with the one I got at Walmart on clearance for 11 bucks. I actually got a couple of those. So I don't see how this third version of the Jedi Luke is going to get people ultra excited to back a $350 Rancor. So everybody expected to get an Ula Dancer and a Rancor Keeper, and these two should have been the unlocks in there. Now here's the thing. They could have been unlocked and in this set as something special, and then we get like a more tamed down, cheaper version for retail. Also, different dancers, just reusing the Ula to make all the different color dancers that are out there and all that different kind of stuff, because there's a lot of different dancers that are out there that they had released in the past, and in the Black Series could just reuse that mold, change out the head, change out a few things to make different dancers. It's kind of like, why not? How come that hasn't happened yet? And how come with this Rancor Keeper? Like, it's a basic, it's one of the 96 that most collectors want to retrace those 96 Kenner figures. Why not? And we're all scratching our heads. Why not? And why is this thing failing? Well, this is a big part of it. It just shows that the Rancor itself, on its own, is not worth $350. And a lot of people were wanting a Slave Leia figure. You could call it Hutt Slayer or Hutt's Leia or whatever. It doesn't really matter what you call it. But the thing is, this figure's never going to get put out at retail again, according to Hasbro and a lot of the other stuff going on there. But the thing about this figure is, yes, this would be the perfect one to say the only chance you'll ever get it is to buy it in this Haslab. And so that would have been a smart move for them. Like, hey, we can't sell this at retail, but we can sell it through Haslab. But again, they're not touching it. They have the tooling for it. It needs to be updated. It needs a better head. The one that's already out there has kind of a weird, wonky looking head. But if they updated it and put it in this would have been a real good selling point. This is also not a dream project. See, there's already Rancors in existence. Since there's already other Rancors out there, and yes, for a smaller scale, yes, they're for 3.75, but Rancors are animals or beasts, and they exist in different sizes, but they've released the vintage one, which is the smallest, the slightly bigger one in 1997. In 2011, they came out with a Legacy, and they've had other iterations along the way, and repaints of those molds, so here we are, with actual options that are out there for a Rancor. If this doesn't fund, Rancors still exist. If the Cell Barge didn't fund, there was no Cell Barge. If Unicron didn't fund, the only option you had, well, aside from the third party that was coming out at the same time, but the only other option that you had for a Unicron was the Armada one, which was very small, and didn't really feel like a Unicron. So this itself, there's good options for Rancors already out there. If it doesn't fund, it's not really going to be that big of a deal. And the same issue plagues the Skystriker. The Skystriker is not a dream project. The Skystriker is not something that if this doesn't fund, there'll be no way to display a Skystriker. I don't even know how many iterations of the Skystriker are out there. You got the vintage one. I know you got the 2011 one. You've got a lot of different iterations out there. Now, this one does look nice, and I do like that they have independent mechanisms for wheels and wings, which I don't understand why they didn't do that a long time ago. But still, with it, this is not worth $230. See, you're taking away the ability to buy multiples for $100 each at retail, and now it's like nobody's really going to want to pony up $230 plus tax, so $250 for a Skystriker. And to get multiples, most people want to have multiples on their flag or whatever. Nobody wants to pony up $250 per Skystriker for a new one. Yes, the vintage one might cost you that complete, but that's because that's something different. It's a whole different market. And that's because that thing has been preserved for 40 years. Now, yes, there's a lot of other stuff. It comes with a flight stand. It comes with the pit crew stuff and all that. But I don't think everybody wants all that. And if you're in on 3 of these, why would you need 3 of all of the other extra accessories and stuff? So I just don't see it. And the reason that people want multiple Skystrikers is so that they can have Duke flying a Skystriker and Lady J flying a Skystriker, Scarlet flying a Skystriker, and those kinds of things. But at the end of the day, it didn't need all this extra add-on stuff to inflate the price 2.5 times. It really should be a retail item. There's lack of confidence in the G.I. Joe brand for whatever reason. Even though it is the strongest franchise that Hasbro has, they are holding back and then making things that are very common or should be very common hard to attain. They should take all this tooling or all of the design work that went into this and make a $100 retail one and put it out in droves. Make 100,000, 200,000 of them, because they will sell. Just looking at the prices going up on these ones from 2011, people are interested in Skystrikers at retail. They're not interested in Skystrikers at $230, so that's kind of crazy. Anyhow, this is definitely what they need to do. They need to make it retail because it won't fund through Haslab. And if it does fund through Haslab, we're sending the wrong message to Hasbro. Now, I don't see the Skystriker funding, but I definitely don't see the unlocks. The first unlock is at 13,000 backers. And what were we sitting around? Sitting around 5,800 backers right now. So just to get to the 10,000 mark, I don't see it happening. But here we go, and we get this figure here. And it's basically a reuse of the Ace molds, what it looks like. They just repaint the Ace and then add a new character. It's O-rings, right? And Scarlet in her flight suit, so you swap the head and change colors. And it's going to be O-ring figures with this. So another thing is, when this doesn't get backed, is Hasbro going to say that fans don't want O-rings? Because that's the kind of logic that I think they're going to use. They don't want a Skystriker, they don't want O-rings. No, we do want it, but we want it at retail for a reasonable price. Now, I do admit, like, this is kind of cool. Ripcord O-ring in the Night Force. A lot of people really do chase down those variants and all that kind of stuff. So this would be kind of cool, but it should be like on Hasbro Pulse or something so that everybody can get one of these guys for like $20. Not hide it behind a $100 Skystriker that is now $230. So this kind of stuff really doesn't sit well with me. And then, of course, the pit crew down there, or whatever, the crew down there in the bottom. I just don't think that this was a good idea, and I don't like what's going on. I don't mind the figures that they're putting out as the tier unlocks, but we'll never see them, and they should have been available for other purchases. Maybe they will scrap the Haslab when it's over and give us all of this on Hasbro Pulse, or maybe they'll just extend it and force you to pay $230. When this ends and they don't make a Skystriker, then these other Skystrikers are going to skyrocket in value even more if they don't put out a Skystriker. So this is kind of a double-edged sword, and I really hope that Hasbro figures this out and makes it at retail. But there's one more caveat. Well, one thing that Hasbro really screwed up on is timing, and the fact they got 3 of them going on at the same time. And there's fans of G.I. Joe and Star Wars and would consider getting a Spangler backpack that might say, well, you know what, I'll just get a backpack. Even though I'm not really super into Ghostbusters, I think the Proton Pack's pretty cool. But looking at all this, there's another thing they didn't consider, and that's demand. See, 2020 brought in something called artificial demand, where, yes, maybe 1 million people want a Skystriker, but only technically 5,817 people have the money to put down on it, to excessively overly indulge on this product. So with that artificial demand in 2020, when they saw all this stuff selling for crazy prices, well, that's because people had extra money, more than they've ever had, and they don't have it now. And that's artificial demand. We saw that in 2020, and we saw it worse in 2020 than ever in 20 years of collecting that I have seen, and the artificial demand is gone. All that's left is real demand, and real demand is showing they don't want crazy overpriced products. So anyway, let me know what you think about these projects. Are you in on them? I know so many of you out there want to get this Rancor, and it looks good. I know all of you that want this Rancor don't want to spend $350 to get it, but feel like that's the only way to get it, so you'll do that. But sadly, I don't think we're going to get it. I don't think that we're going to get it, and that's just that. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Petty Hanger out.